Are there? Today we're going to be reviewing Pirate Radio, a film that was written and directed by Richard Curtis. He wrote Four Weddings and a Funeral, and he also directed Love, Actually. Now, the plot for this film is Carl has been kicked out of school, and his mother sends him to hang out with his godfather, who runs a pirate radio, because what happened was back in 1966, British stations would not play rock music, so the only way people could hear him is on radio stations that were, in these sort of like oil rigs or on ships off the coast of England. Now, his godfather runs a radio station, and they play, of course, rock music, and this film is mostly a series of, I guess, little sketches with no central plot about his experiences on there. A subplot with the film is that some high-ranking officials in the government want to shut down all the pirate radio stations, so there's some focus on that. Okay, Brendan, I just want to say this movie, which is also called The Boat That Rocked, and when it was released in England, I must say I thought this movie was really funny, and I really liked hanging out with each of these characters. At first, I thought the movie was just going to be a bunch of montages, because that's kind of like how it started out. But over time, the scenes get a bit longer, and you do get a little bit more involved with the characters.
It was just, to me, it was one of those movies that when you watch it, it just seems like it was fun to make. Mm-hmm. And when you're watching it, you're jealous because you want to be on that boat with those guys and hanging out with them. And that's what most of the movie was. You're essentially hanging out with them, and you're listening. The music is great in this movie. Yeah. It completely gets you into their world, and the music all seemed very carefully selected.
Yeah.
It all pertained to what was going on, and I liked seeing what the people back in Britain were, all the different classes of people who were listening to the rock music and enjoying it. Mm-hmm. I mean, I really don't really have anything to complain about this movie. I really enjoyed it. It was funny as hell. The casting was great. All the actors did a phenomenal job, and as a British comedy movie, it's I think one of the funnier movies I've seen in a while. In theaters.
Yeah, definitely. I thought it was. Like I mentioned before, there's really no central plot. It's just a series of vignettes and sketches. But I mean, like I said,
I think they all build on each other. I think.
Yeah, and if there was a plot, it's mostly that some of the members of the British government want to shut down the pirate radios, and we get some good scenes like with Kenneth Branagh.
And those are some really good scenes as well. He has like the one lower ranking guy named Twat. Mm-hmm. And I thought that it seemed very well written, and the jokes were just delivered perfectly by the cast. I mean, I thought Philip Seymour Hoffman was great as the American DJ who was on the ship. I mean, Philip Seymour Hoffman rarely does a bad job unless we're talking Mission Impossible 3. And Nick Frost, who I really enjoyed in like Hot Fuzz and Shaun of the Dead, he was great in this as one of the DJs. And Bill Nighy, he's always great. And the movie, it's one of those movies that gets you energized. You want to go out there, you want to listen to good music, and that's the kind of music I listen to. So I had a lot of fun watching the movie, and it just spoke to me. I guess it's my taste of music.
Yeah, this was a fun movie, and one thing I noticed: the high officials are usually portrayed as stiff and somewhat boring and kind of like hammy villains from like the films that were made in the 1960s, but the people on the boat are lively, they're fun, and it's like you're hanging out with them, and they're like a family.
It was great watching how the DJs on the boat were celebrating Christmas, and then how like the Parliament guys were celebrating Christmas. It just seems so dull and boring compared to like just the completely fun side of it. And speaking of the people on the boat, all the characters are unique. They all have their own traits. You spend your time with different characters, and then move on to different guys. And by the end of it, you feel like you know all the guys, everyone on the show.
Yeah. You don't get to know all of them. Like there's a black character that you don't get to know too much, but I mean, that you do. I think if this movie was made by Hollywood, I try not to knock Hollywood unless it's absolutely necessary. But if this movie was made by Hollywood, it would just be focused on Carl, and I think you wouldn't get to know the other characters, or there probably wouldn't be that many DJs, because there's a lot of them.
That's where I thought the movie was going. I thought, oh great, it's going to be a movie about the guy who's fish out of water scenario. Nope. They changed it, and it just ends up being a very fun movie, and I highly recommend it.
Definitely. I definitely say to go see this. I mean, when we went to see this movie, it was only playing on one screen, and I think maybe the studio doesn't think it, and a lot of people will go to see this, but I hope it does very well, because it's a great movie.
Probably won't be, and that's the sad point of it, but I think if you're looking for a movie with a little laughter and some great music and some funny acting, Pirate Radio is a good place to go.
And the humor's not too gross. I mean, there's a few sex jokes. Like, I remember there was one scene where one of the DJs is trying to convince Carl to have sex with a woman for him. I thought, That was pretty funny.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's definitely a fun movie, and it's definitely different. I think people that are trying to look for something different in the theaters, I think they'll enjoy it.
Yeah, and it's almost 2 hours long, and the movie's pace, you're never sitting there waiting. I mean, you're always having fun with what's going on the screen.
Yeah.
So, my verdict is see it.
Yeah, I definitely say see this movie in theaters too. And thank you very much for watching. And if you've seen Pirate Radio, go ahead and leave any comments, or if you want to comment on our video, go right ahead. We appreciate it. And thank you very much for watching.